Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was about to discuss about that Islamophobia attempts because I think I saw one of your picture in the Facebook. I think maybe like last year or something. I think you and Mayan holding the sign that Islamophobia is oxymoronic. I think yeah, I think that one
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really great. That one is really great. Like, do you want to talk about that? Because I noticed that like Azadi also said something similar to that kind of narrative. I think she said Islamophobia is a term created by like something like the like right wing kind of thing. I think she said that once, right? The wife of Mansa Ahmed, she Azadi, she once mentioned about that. I read it somewhere, but I'm not like I don't really remember the quote itself. She said something really similar, like Islamophobia is a term created by the left liberal or the right wing Islamists and stuff like that. Like, what do you think of that term, the Islamophobia?
I think it's like, first of all, like, I think someone like every sane human beings should be scared of Islam because Islam kills. It's a brutal religion. Like, you can say like, all religions are brutal, but like Christianity or like Judaism, we can say like there's like somehow like a reformism in them. And like the Christian we have these days are not real Christians. So they don't kill you, they respect you, they like modern, they like they believe in democracy and like blah 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 blah. But like when we're talking about Islam these days, like 2022, of course it's brutal. Of course you're supposed to be scared because Islam kills. Simple as that. Look what happened to Masa Amini, 22 years old girl coming from Kurdistan. She was like Iranian Kurdish. So basically, like, as you know, like, Iranian Kurdish are very poor. Like, yeah, all the like, money and all the like, how to say, development, like, has been taken place in Tehran and big cities. And like country, like, places like Kurdistan, Azerbaijan, these places are very deprived from their basic rights. And they are not, I mean, they are very poor. So she was coming from a very, very, very poor family in a very small city in Kurdistan. And like, after these sanctions over this decade, like, Iranian economic is just going down and down and down. Like, most of the people are like living under the line of poverty. So if you're coming from Kurdistan, you are even more poor than the like, other people. And she was 22, girl coming from a poor family, just visiting the capital for 2 or 3 days of having fun. And they arrested her because she was semi-veiled. She had hijab. Yeah, it's not like, she was removing the hijab or something. She had hijab, but the government was not happy with the hijab that she had. She was arrested, and now she's dead. And like during this protest, like, I've heard like, 36 people already dead shot by the government. The number of executions in Iran, it's huge. It's the first country in the world executing their own citizens. If you're atheist, if you're ex-Muslim, if you're homosexuals, if you're a women who do not like, obey the Islamic rules, they kill you. So, and just like happened like in Afghanistan, let's look what happened when ISIS was in power in Iraq and Syria. So if you ask me, are you scared of Islam? I would say yes. Islam is scary. Islam kills, first of all. And second of all, as you said, yeah, Islamophobe, very stupid sort of mixture of the words, trying to labelize the Islam critics and try to somehow to stop them and shut their mouths and do not let them to criticize Islam. So left liberals, as you said, or like, the liberal, like, the normal democracy sort of political party in Europe, they created these words to be against the to stop the Islamic critics and try to save the political Islam, which was in power and is still in power. But like, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, it was kind of like a new movement. So they were thinking like this sort of like, Islamism can be against like imperialism, can be against the US, and can be against the far rights, neo-Nazism. So they were supporting and promoting Islamism. And they created this word Islamophobe so they would like, stop as a like, shut the mouth of the people who would like to criticize Islam. In Europe and North America, like, we have this far right as well, which don't like, which they're not really happy about the immigration policy. They say like, these immigrants are the problem are the cause of all problems we have in the West. Basically, I'm talking about the racist people, which are very big these days. Like, in Sweden, for example, like, we had an election in September, and the Sweden Democrats, which is like a far right anti-immigrant political party, is the second biggest now. And it's true with like most of the countries in Europe. So basically, like, Islamophobe also is a term these days describing the racists, basically. But if like I were in the position of like these left liberals, I would choose the other words, saying like, if they are really honest about like, like supporting the immigrants' rights, they could use some other words like, basically, hijab is not like, the choice of the people, like some other phrases. Islamophobe clearly, as I said, is a term to like to stand against the Islam critics and the far right political party. So if you ask me, that's a very stupid combination of word. It doesn't make any sense, and it's just something that, as I said, to stop people, stop the people of Middle East to rioting against Islamism and Islamic governments, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that one on that analysis because I also think that way. Because like let's say because for me personally, I never use the term Islamophobia or Islamophobia. I never use that. I use an alternative word that I use anti-Muslim bigotry. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense, right? Because like most of the far right,
precisely.
like
Yeah, you can use
yeah,
some other words like, anti-Islam bigotry is like makes sense, makes more
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because that emphasizes their characteristics of being xenophobic, racist, and stuff like that. So anti-Muslim bigotry that clearly define the terms. So like when we see the right wings, like ultra right wings, people like Trump kind of like followers and like neo-Nazis and stuff like that, apparently they are anti-Muslim bigots. So we can just say that word, right? It's like sort of using the Islamophobia because I agree with that. Like Islamophobia is a rational fear. It's not an irrational fear. So I think that is a mess because like if you are progressive, apparently you have to hate Islam. Of
yeah,
course, yeah, because like it is the only religion that has not been reformed yet. Let's say like if we analyze the Christianity, it has been reformed several times. So like let's say if we look at the Old Testament, we cannot like no Christian never like they don't really reference that anymore. They use the New Testament and they already reform most of the like hostile, like murderous, genocidal verses. They already got rid of
yeah.
them. But when it comes to the Quran or Hadith, they are pretty much the same. They have never been reformed.
Like, in the Christian world, yeah, like in a country who are like, known as a Christian countries, you barely see anyone like go and see the Old Testament and like, interpret it literally. Say like, if in the Old Testament say like, kill the non-Christian people, go on the street and kill the non non-Christian people on the street. In the Islamic world, it is still true. There are like, and they are in power, like politically in power. They read the Quran literally. And in Quran clearly said, for example, if you say kuffar, any part of the world, kill them. Simple as that. And that's clear. Women, if your wife disobey you, first of all, talk to them. I'm talking about Nasa, Surah Nasa. Talk to them and then change your bed and then beat them. And they say like, the men are guardians of males are guardians of females, and women are the farms for the men, and this sort of thing. You can have like, four wives, and there are people like read it literally and do it in real in the real world and practice it in the real world. We have like, it's really common, for example, if you live in Dubai or Saudi Arabia or in Iran, to have like several wives as a man, have several wives, while women do not have such a chance to have different husbands. Or
Yeah.
like if you're homosexuals, yeah, in Quran, so like, there are the most how to say, disgusting people, and they're supposed to be like executed, and they are getting executed in Iran and Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia. So I think that's a difference. There we are living in a world where Muslims read Quran literally and practice it in the real world. That's why Islam is dangerous. So if you ask me again, are you scared of Islam? It's like, if you're sane, if you are not drunk or something, of course the answer is yes, yes, yes. Islam is scary, and I'm scared of Islam.